welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today I'm taking a look at Dawn of Battle, which is a very evocative title, by Mike Nagel, and this is from Worthington. This is a game I didn't even know about, and so Grant showed this to me like the night before we did our April monthly debrief. He just texted it to me and showed a picture. I was like, oh, we got this, by the way. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And then he explained what it was, and I was just super mega intrigued. So this is a 2-player tactical Ancients plus wargame. So it's battle lines. It's a game of battle lines. So your board is a big, mostly empty plain field. But this has like 25 scenarios in it, and it ranges from Ancients all the way up through medieval, and I think maybe even into Crusades. So it's 1500 BCE to 1500 CE. So it covers 3,000 years of warfare. So I'm just very interested to see if this is a game that can give you a little bit of everything and do it reasonably well and reasonably short and reasonably simply, and as such be a really nice gateway for people to get into not World War II war games, which is what so many people jump into when they start wargaming. This just is what it is. So the more I learn about this, the more I'm like, okay, this is something I really want to try out and let you know how it is. So it's not necessarily particularly solitaire compatible, apparently, and they've got it kind of like a 3.5 out of 5 on their complexity scale, which I don't know about those particularly. What I do know about in this game and with Worthington is when it says victory within 1 to 2 hours, they aren't kidding. If there's one company that knows the length of their games, it is Worthington, and I'm always impressed that they basically nail it every single time. I feel like, other publishers and other games are either so big and sprawling where they're like, oh, it's like 8 to 25 hours. Sure. I mean, sure. What does that even mean? Or even when a game says it's like 90 minutes to 3 hours. Well, that's a pretty big swing, and like here, they have very tight times in a lot of their games, and they're almost always very accurate. So let's crack this open and see what we've got inside. It looks like the very first thing we've got here is the board. So we will crack that out and open that last. You can already see there's some play aid information with the various turn tracks and army panic tracks, which sounds very cool. But let's start here. We've got the rulebook and a scenario book, volume 1. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, well, we'll start with this. So we got a rulebook here. I kind of expected a second one. Usually Worthington puts another one in there, so there might be another one later on. So our rules are, these are quite dense, especially for Worthington. There's a lot of text in here. Explanation of all the different unit types. A bunch of text. Arcs of fire, melee units, army panic. So this is not, there are some games out there that they've done where it's like, here's like a 4-page rulebook. And those games are pretty tasty. Here we've got of rules. Looks like about 16 pages of rules, and then we start getting into explanations of scenarios. Design your own scenarios, so that's very interesting, and how to read the scenario book. So 16 pages of rules. That's not a small amount of rules for them, but again, you're getting what seems to be quite a reasonably detailed matrix of units on here, and it covers a lot of different periods. So we'll see. So scenario book. This is all your scenarios that you get in this base game. And it says volume 1, so I'm hoping maybe they do other volumes or there's expansions, who knows. So, we'll just flip through here. Scenario book, Dawn of Battle, alright, so. But this is exactly what you would expect, right? This is Battle of Moy. Okay, and this is what you get. So you get, these are all the units that you have, and the numbers that you get. 4 of these, medium infantries, presumably. 10 of these light infantries, for example, and then it tells you how to set those up with regards to the map. There's some like HQ camp tiles in here. It gives you the special rules that you may have, and I presume that you play until someone panics and runs away, which was in the rules, but I'm not quite sure on that. You got a army panic track. That's usually an indication of what that means. So 1, 2, and this one looks like you've got a more generic setup where you can deploy them in a more free setting within that blue box. More static setups. So this is a lot of ancient stuff. Ancients. Yeah, so we've got lots of ancients. Ancients. Seleucids versus Rome. Rome versus Gaul. Rome versus the Visigoths. Byzantium versus the Vandals. Franks versus Byzantium. And so all of a sudden, we went from, like, Franks versus Byzantium, and then we've got Wessex versus Vikings. So you start getting into, like, totally different settings and periods. Vikings versus Irish, Byzantium versus the Turks, Seljuk Turks versus Crusaders, 1097. I mean, how cool is that? Silesia versus the Mongols. I mean, England versus Scotland in Falkirk. I mean, a game that can contain so much could be a very, very, very interesting package. Like, oh, I want to get into Ancients, but like, oh, some of, like, you can get lost in some of the massive ancient systems. But you might want to have a little smattering of medievals. You can buy one box, have it all in there, and get a little dabble of each to help you guide you in what you want to maybe dive further into, which I think could be really interesting. So, combat result charts. So we have 2 of these play aids. These look identical, and they are dual-sided. So we've got here, you have a massive weapons or like unit matrix. So if your war wagons going up against some like heavy infantry or heavy cavalry, you can cross-section and see who's attacking, who's defending, who's getting the positive modifiers, basically. So that's that, and on the back we have our elephant effects, which that sounds fun. Dice color key, sequence of play, and unit size and movement effects. So this is the kind of thing where you're going to set both of these out like this, or you just give each person one and they can flip them over, depending on how you like your table setup. And so now we've got the units. And let's do some tipping here. Alright, because there is a number of counters. So, we've got 2 sheets of blue counters, 2 sheets of red counters. And the counters, in order to make sure that you, I don't know, have multi-purpose counters, they have just kind of a generic black silhouette on them, rather than like a colorized picture of that thing. So that way, you know, you can have your light archers be Ancients light archers, but also, you know, 800 CE Viking archers. Like, the pictures wouldn't be the same, so you've got kind of a more generic silhouette on those, which works. Everything's fairly clear on here. And they have a reduced side, which is much more white than it is that kind of dark grey. And you got that big camp hex in the bottom right there, which is nice. Ooh. And there's just more of that. So we've got infantry types, cavalry, and it looks like PX for some phalanx units. Those are different size, and there's elephants as well, which is nice. And a couple of different markers down here for your army last turn and initial positions as well. And these are, I'm like, I'm just punching them out, holding these. But we'll see if we can't see these. These are a linen finished. If we can catch the light, you can see the texture on them. So they're a linen finished, which is very nice, but they're also pre-rounded, and these are also very thick as well. So this is very high quality, is what I'm getting at with that, which I very much appreciate. And then we have basically the red versions of those. I think it's all the same units. I don't think there's much in the way of differences, so that it's the composition in the scenarios is where you get the different force elements and where those differentiate themselves. I think they have an equal force pool, blue and red, and then the scenarios give you your different kind of army compositions, so to speak. So that's those. What's very, very nice, and here's something that I think is really cool, is Worthington have gone out of their way to make a custom insert into these, which has a full separate lid that goes on top of it. But in here we have little standees, and these are sealed for freshness. These are crispy, crunchy packaging there. These are the transparent plastic standees, and those are for, I believe, those are for your leader types here. Those have little standees for those. Before I lose them all. We do have a bag of bags, which we'll use to sub-organize a lot of those units, most likely. We have a couple of bags of red cubes and yellow cubes. Offhand, I'm not sure what those do, but we have those, and then we got two pretty large decks of cards. So let's open one of these up. He says, "You thought this was a war game review channel, but really this is a package opening channel. I just open packets of cards all day, and I take my time because I'm not particularly dexterous." Okay, we'll just take a look at these red ones. Again, just like the counters, these cards have a linen finish to them. So again, these are very high quality cards, but they're just kind of red with a red marble background on them. Same with the blue. So these, is this a diceless system? I think it is. I didn't see any dice on there, so maybe you're flipping cards, and it looks like we've got our results on a little chart over here as well, which is very interesting. Discard this card during the activation cycle to create a formation of any size. All other restrictions concerning formation creation still apply. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like we got a closed system. We got some dice rolls down in the bottom as well, which is very interesting. I enjoy closed system games. It means that there's some gaminess to it. If you've had a string of bad luck, you might be on for a string of good luck, or it's the option of, do I use my good card with my good rolls on it for my good event, or do I forego the event because I need it for the good rolls, or if I've got all my good rolls in my hand, I know I don't have any of the deck, so do I do less risky things? A lot of very interesting stuff happens with those. So two massive decks of those cards. And then the last thing, we'll just take a quick look at the board. What we kind of saw on the back of the box. The board is just a big green field, but we'll have a look just to make sure that there's not anything else cool on there. He says, so this is a big 22 by 34 size board. However, make some space. So 22 by 34 size actual board, but a good what? This is, I think, eight or so inches of it is taken up with, like, the same stuff that's on the Play Aid, basically. Oh, our picture's gone real dark because the camera is not tracking very well. Okay, but yeah, it's just a field, right? It's just a green field. But the rest of it here, we have a turn track, you have your Army Panic table, which I think is victory conditions. But then you have your Elephant Effects table, your unit movement effects, combat modifiers, little turn sequence as well. And then you do have a little diagram for orientation, which is quite nice too. So that is Dawn of Battle, which is designed by Mike Nagel and put out by Worthington. I am very, very interested to play this game because like I said, I think that this could check a lot of boxes for a lot of people and could be used as a really good introduction to a number of different periods and a style of wargame that most people don't get into early on in their wargaming careers, is what I would say. So we will do we'll play this, do a review of this, let you know how it is. But this is Dawn of Battle by Worthington. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.